Hello, 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 everybody. Hello, hello. I hope that you're all doing good. As you can probably tell by the title, today is gonna be a Reddit scary stories video. This one is going to be taken from the Let's Not Meet Reddit. I am kind of sick right now, so I've just popped in a cough sweet. But let's see. Let's see what we've got. Can I filter this by like most liked or something? Let's have a look. Oh, this is. Oh, okay. I don't think that is actually the post. I think that's the most recent. Let's have a look. Okay, yes. Okay, this one is by dangerous underscore party underscore 7554. It is called I dodged being murdered by my psychotic roommate just by a hair, with real news articles. Oh my god. Okay. This sounds like it's gonna be really, really interesting. Let's get into it. I'm a 36-year-old female in Sweden. I've worked in mental health care for the last 18 years, mainly with the people with psychotic illnesses like schizophrenia. I was working at a group home for 9 years, and we're very close with my co-workers there, especially 2 females. Sorry, this cough sweet's really big. The last few years I worked there, another female started working there. Let's call her M. And the 4 of us grew very close. She was very timid, shy, friendly, and we got along well. She was, however, often on a long-term sick leave because of her own mental health issues, so we didn't meet much at work. But she always showed up at our after work dinners, so we continued to stay in touch, even when she wasn't well enough to work full time. She told us that she had a history of schizophrenia herself, just like the patient. She told me that she had a history of schizophrenia herself, just like the patients we were treating, but that she was medicated and hadn't had any psychotic episodes for years. Since I have an education in psychiatry and a long experience with schizophrenia, I have no judgment towards people suffering from the illness, and it didn't bother me being friends with someone who had a diagnosis like that. And even after what I will tell you, I still feel the same way. That's very mature, I like that. In the summer of 2023, I had moved on to work at a new place, also within mental health, but this time forensic psychiatry. She told us that in the huge apartment complex, the doors all look exactly the same, and that she simply walked in the wrong door by accident, and that the neighbours had created a scene of the pure drama and reported her to the police. I somehow felt that while that sounded out of proportion to evict someone just from that, perhaps the landlord took that kind of action because he judged her based on her mental history, and I felt bad for her. I questioned her if something else happened, and she claimed that it didn't, and that this was the full story. In Sweden, it's very difficult to get a contract for an apartment when you have gotten evicted. You pretty much get blacklisted. Asked me if she could move in with me since she was literally on the street, literally homeless. I said, of course you can. I've always gotten myself into uncomfortable situations by saying yes instead of thinking about myself, and I had no idea how severe this situation would get when I said yes to M. I live in a pretty small apartment. It's a one bedroom that pretty much only fits a bed and a desk, a living room that fits a couch and a TV, no room for an extra bed, a small kitchen and a small bathroom, and I have 2 cats. We decided that M was going to live in the living room, and I offered her to throw my couch out so she could have a bed there. But she said she was fine sleeping on the couch since it's comfortable enough. I insisted on giving her a bed, but she declined. There's a door between the living room and bedroom, but between the living room and the hallway, there's just an open arch, so that she wouldn't have total privacy. I hung up a thick velvet curtain covering the arch, so it at least gave her the sense of a door and more privacy than nothing. There's another door from my bedroom to my kitchen, so I have 2 doors to my bedroom. I have to have one of them open at night since my cats want to go in and out, and they also have their letterboxes in the bathroom and food and water in the kitchen. I naturally kept the kitchen door open and not the living room door since that's where Em lived and we wanted to keep our privacy somehow. Makes sense. She wasn't working at this time because she was on one of her long-term sick leaves, while I was working shifts, so sometimes I had to get up at 6 a.m. and sometimes I didn't get home till like 11 p.m. I have really severe insomnia and need to combine zolpidem, immune still not, with Lergigan, promethazine, and even this, I still wake up easily. I told her that I would appreciate if she could try to stay quiet those nights when I have to get up at 6 a.m, but that it's fine if she's loud when I'm off work or when I do the evening shifts. That is very, very fair. Can't ask. Come here. Can't ask for more than that. She was a heavy smoker and a coffee drinker, so I bought her a coffee machine. Yeah, I know, I'm a weirdo who doesn't drink coffee very often, so I didn't have one. I bought it to make her enjoy the living situation more. The coffee machine and the sink are placed right outside my bedroom door, and 6 a.m. for my shift. As usual, I had a hard time falling asleep. I'd been up several times that night to go out to smoke, and I woke up every time. At 5 a.m. she started making coffee and cinders literally outside my bedroom door. I got wide awake from the sound of it. I asked her in the nicest way possible why she was up this early, asked if she'd had any plans for today. I mean, she was on sick leave, why not sleep at 5 a.m. if you can? And she just said that she couldn't sleep. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I would just appreciate if you could wait with making the coffee till 6 a.m. since I really need the last hour of sleep because of work. Adding to why I need my sleep is that I have epilepsy that gets really bad when I don't get enough sleep. I usually get a lot of seizures when I don't get at least 4 hours of sleep. I knew that I would probably get seizures at work now, meaning that this day would be both stressful and potentially dangerous for me, since there's a huge risk that I fall and hurt myself, and it's not a good thing to get cramps and seizures among mentally unstable criminal clients who you are supposed to take care of. I know that it's not an ideal situation to work in that field with my condition, and I can inform you that all that I did quit my job after only 6 months. She said that she really wanted coffee with her cigarettes, but that she would try to wait the next time I have work. I accepted it and went on with my day, but things didn't get any better. She continued to wake me up early in the morning and through the nights, and continued to promise to stop, but insisted that she really wanted coffee with her cigarettes. I suggested making the coffee the night before or drinking iced coffee or Coke instead, but she didn't want that. I may add that she demanded for me to be silent at 10 p.m. because that's when she wanted to sleep, and I respected that. She used to get these moments of binge eating where she would empty my fridge and pantry from everything I had. I remember this one time when I had bought a big loaf of bread, and she texted me 30 minutes after I left the apartment saying, "Hey, I'm sorry I ate your loaf of bread. I will buy it back once I get money," like an entire loaf of bread in 30 minutes. I had told her when she moved in to feel at home, and what's mine is yours, so I couldn't really get mad, but it started to annoy me for 2 reasons. It was getting kind of expensive since it was such a huge amount, and it was always in inconvenient times of the day, like after an evening shift when the store was closed, and I came home hungry, and she had emptied the kitchen from everything I had bought the same day. Okay, this is quite a long one, so let's log in. Had long black hair that was everywhere, all over the sink and the floor. The bathtub. I'm no clean freak, but I think anyone could understand that this isn't the nicest thing to step in or see everywhere in your house. She also left her fingernails and toenails on the bathroom floor. That is so gross. There was also pee drops on the toilet seat every time she'd been to the toilet. Oh my goodness. I saw a silverfish on my bathroom floor. Never ever seen one before. And they eat hair and skin and nails, so I figured this fella probably enjoyed life because of the new dirty condition my bathroom was in. At first I didn't want to say it straight out because I thought it would hurt her. I didn't want to make her uncomfortable, so I just put a broom and shovel in the bathroom to imply that we needed to sweep the floor more often. This didn't seem to work, so after a while I told her in the nicest way possible, with a smile on my face, "Do you think we could try and clean the floor in the bathroom more often? We tend to lose some hair when we brush it, and I'm afraid we may get pests." I I saw a silverfish the other day and I don't want it to get worse. I always made sure to say we instead of you so she wouldn't feel attacked. She promised to think about it, but nothing changed. I started dating a guy and was head over heels for him. He was also in a roommate situation, so we had a tough time getting any alone time. I asked if there's any chance that we could get one night to ourselves every now and then in the apartment. I'm sorry, my throat keeps making weird noises. And that she, of course, would get the apartment to herself as well. She didn't like the idea and claimed that she had nowhere to go, no friends or family. No, I wasn't asking her to leave for 24 hours, just a few hours so we could get some quality time together. She could just go to the library or take a walk or whatever. I was at work for 8 to 10 hours, 5 days a week, so she got a lot of time to herself. One of her old co-workers realised that this was really tearing at my mood. I'd never get any time for myself and I started to feel really suffocated. She offered that could stay the night at her place. After all, they were friends too. Said she didn't want to bother her, but we told her that she didn't. They're friends, she's more than welcome, and I really just want one night to myself. And my guy, I didn't understand why she made such a big deal over leaving me in the apartment for just one night. She eventually accepted and spent the night there. I spent the night away the next week so she could get more alone time too. So even though this is her apartment and she's like paying all the bills and stuff, she's still trying her best to be incredibly fair, which is very, very admirable considering she's being very, would charitous be the word? Might let her stay there. Let's continue. When I came home the next morning from my night away, I saw that my cat's water bowl was completely dried out. There was no spill on the floor and it looked like it had been wiped out with a towel or paper. I had filled it to the brim just the night before. I asked her how this was possible and she said that the cats must have tipped it out, but there was nothing on the floor like I said. My cats are overly social and usually cuddle up with strangers after just a few minutes. I noticed that the cats withdrew from him more and more over time, and the last couple of weeks they never left my bedroom except for when they ate or used the same litter box. It seemed like they were scared of her, which I couldn't figure out since she was so... It seemed like they were scared of her, which I couldn't figure out since she was so timid. I had this old saucepan from the 60s that meant a lot to me. You probably wonder how a saucepan can mean a lot to someone, but it was my grandmother's. And it's the only thing I have that belonged to her. My mother used to cook for me when I was little, so it has a great nostalgic value to me. Mother used to cook with it for it, sorry. She burned it one day and made no attempt to clean it. She just left it on the stove and went out to smoke. I found it ruined and cried. She didn't even say I'm sorry. She also broke dishes several times and didn't bother to replace them or apologize. This, of course, added to my frustration with her naturally. It had probably gone 2 months now, and she kept waking me up at night, kept binge eating my food, never cleaned, never left the house, scared my cats, and ruined my things. I realized she stole my prescriptive sleeping pills, lots of them as well, and I only get one per night, not more or less. As you already know, I really need them. I had 20 of them in the nightstand when I left for work, and when I came home, they were gone. She denied The summer heat was strong and I felt locked up in my tiny bedroom with my 2 cats, never getting any time to myself, never any alone time with the guy I was dating except for once every 14th day. My apartment was messy and she was stealing from me, etc. Out of nowhere, my old elementary school classmate texted me on Facebook asking me how I know he had seen that I had posted on Facebook that we were roommates now. I told him that we were all co-workers and that she needed a place to stay because she got evicted. He said, I know, do you know why she was evicted? Yeah, she accidentally went into her neighbour's apartment. He said that's not the full story. She broke in and snuck up to their sleeping baby with a knife in her hand, but luckily the father woke up and wrestled her down and managed to save the baby. I felt sick to my stomach. Could this be true? It would certainly explain why she was evicted, but it just sounded so horrible, and she is such a timid, nice girl. I had so many questions. But my friend had the full police report. Apparently the couple that M had broken into was his ex-girlfriend and her family. It seemed that M had a psychosis during the break-in, but those parts were public. It was, however, clear to me that she had been lying to me about what had happened and about how long she had been mentally stable. I started getting quite paranoid now, and I was already frustrated with everything and really wanted her to move out. We did, however, have a contract that she had 30 days notice. I knew that if I asked her in a harsh way, it would mean 30 days of chaos until she moves out. So I wanted to handle this as nicely as I could. I started looking for cheap hostels for her that I could suggest to her so that she wouldn't be on the streets. I sat down with her and told her that I loved living with her and I feel really horrible for this, but I just miss my alone time and that the apartment is too small for 2 people. I said it wasn't personal and that I wouldn't want to live with anyone right now and that I wished it would have worked out and that I am really sorry and that we will remain friends. She looked crushed and said that it wasn't possible. I showed her the hostel I found and said that I understood and it wasn't the ultimate situation, but I really needed her to move out because I felt suffocated, and also the summer heat was making it tough to always have the door to the bedroom closed, and that it was tough for me to not get any sleep. She said okay. She was gonna try and move out, but not until 30 days had passed, and I said of course. The first night after our talk, she got up and made her coffee at 2:30 a.m. I nearly had a mental breakdown. I was gonna get up at 6 and couldn't go back to sleep. I asked her in the morning for probably the 10th time to not make coffee till I get up, but she didn't even answer me. She just sat on the sofa and stared out the window. I said and she kept staring. I was freaked out but left for work. She kept being weird, kept making a mess, kept waking me up and kept eating my food, and all I could think about was the incident with her and the baby and the knife. I eventually got so pissed off about being woken up by the coffee maker, so I unplugged it and stored it in my attic, which she had no access to. It may be childish, but I was getting so tired at this moment. My sleeping pills were stolen and I was starting to feel like Edward Norton in the beginning of Fight Club. Well, the next night I woke up at 4 a.m. by her making coffee in the saucepan. Not my grandmother's saucepan, that one was ruined. I tried talking to her again, explaining the situation, but she just was just standing silently staring at us. This was like a scene from a horror movie with her long black hair over her face. I kid you not. I didn't say anything at first because I wanted to know if she was just stood there for a second doing something by the door, but I realised after a while that she was just actually standing still staring at us. It reminded me of the ending of Paranormal Activity when Katie just stares at Micah in the final scene. So I sat up and said, "What are you doing?" But before I could finish the sentence, she just slammed the door shut and I heard the sound of something metal falling on the floor and her running into the living room. I yelled out, "You need to leave," and started crying hysterically because this was turning into a fucking nightmare. Of course, I didn't go back to sleep and I was really happy that I had company that night. I just kept asking myself, had she done this before or stared at me in my sleep? The next day when I got out of bed, I opened the door that she had slammed shut and saw a kitchen knife on the floor. So that was the metal sound I had heard before she ran off. I took all my knives and locked them in the attic as well. I then asked a friend of mine to come to my house and be here when I tell her that she has to move out immediately, that I can't wait 30 days. 27 more days left. During the conversation, I really tried to stay calm. I know she has mental illness. I know she means no harm, even though I was really frustrated that I couldn't hate her. I was mostly scared and tired. She, however, didn't even answer when I talked to her. She just kept staring out the window. She left the apartment and sent me a text saying that I was disrespectful for bringing a friend over to her place. Nighttime came and I thought this would be a quiet night finally, no coffee maker or saucepans. But at 3 AM I woke up by her burning dry coffee powder in a frying pan. At this moment I just felt terrified of her. Her face was dead, her eyes were black. I suspected that she had gone into a psychosis. I stopped the fire and she just ran off to the living room in silence. I knew she had an appointment with her psychiatrist the next day, and while she was away, I packed all her things. I then sent her a text telling her that she needs to pick them up and give me my keys back, and that I will give her money for a hostel for the upcoming 26 days. She didn't reply. The guy I was seeing came to keep me company in case she would fight about it. She didn't. She left the keys without looking at us and left. Our co-workers who were friends with us both told me that she moved in with a guy that she was dating, and she stayed there for a few weeks till she somehow basically got an apartment of her own. She started working again and I was really happy to hear this. She seemed to do well. Then in January of this year, one of our old co-workers told me that Em had called her and told her that everything must burn, that she has a baby, that she must save, and other delusional stuff. She had called 112, the Swedish emergency number, like 911, about this, but they hadn't taken it seriously, and then had proceeded to burn her entire apartment down, because the voices in her head were telling her that she has to burn everything to save her friends and family. Her neighbours had tried to rescue her from the fire, but she had fought them off and ran back in and poured liquor on the fire to make it burn more. She was arrested and sentenced last week for aggravated arson. And then there is a link, I assume, to a news article regarding the fire. She will serve her time in a mental institution / prison for a long time, possibly forever. What's ironic is that she will probably be in the facility. Where I used to work and end up where she used to work herself. My old co-worker was a witness at the trial and apparently she had stopped she had also stopped taking her medication the last few weeks when she stayed at my house. So when she stayed blank, she had also stopped taking her medication the last few weeks when she stayed at my house. So when she stared blankly into space, she was going into psychosis. When she stared at me with the knife in her hand, when she burned the frying pan last night. It's disturbing to think about what would have happened to me and my cats if she would have stayed, or if I would have been a heavy sleeper. I also think about what would have happened to that baby that she snuck into. Okay, this is written a bit weird. Okay, so, sorry. I also think about what would have happened to the baby of the house that she snuck into before she was evicted. And yeah, I know it's crazy that I didn't just throw her out by then. It was complicated. The reason why I haven't been able to talk about it with my friends is because they sympathize with her and have minimized my experience, and they think that I make a bigger deal out of it than it has been. I sort of understand it, since they have never seen that darkness in her eyes that I saw those last couple of days. Update May 16th. I just remembered some other things that I wanted to add to the post. There were several times when I was going to work early in the morning that she occupied the bathroom by taking long baths. I patiently tried to wait till last minute before knocking and asking her if she could get up and get back in after I had gotten ready and left for work. Just another thing that added to my frustration. I felt really ill one time when she was staying here. I didn't know at the time what it was, but I woke up early in the morning one day feeling very nauseated. On my way to the bathroom, I literally shit myself and threw up at the same time. It takes like 10 seconds to get to the bathroom, so you can imagine how bad it was when I didn't even make it. I had a really high fever and kept throwing up and shitting myself all morning, and anyone who has been this ill would understand that you want the bathroom to yourself. Actually, I think it's pretty understandable that you'd want to be completely alone when you are this ill. My head was spinning and I was nearly hallucinating from the high fevers. Anyway, working in healthcare, I also have a natural instinct of not wanting to spread infections, so my first thought was that besides wanting to be alone, I didn't want to risk giving whatever this was to M. So I begged her the moment I noticed I was ill to please leave for her own sake. I could barely speak because it made me throw up that easily. Our friend in common had asked her to water her plants that week, so she had the keys to her place and could have been alone there. M refused to leave, and I swear if I had the energy to slip out of the window and fall to my death, I would have, but I couldn't. I was half sitting, half laying on the toilet with a bucket in my lap, my head sort of resting in the bucket of puke because I couldn't hold it up because of the high fever, and I just begged through whispers for her to leave so she wouldn't be ill too. I told her, what if you get sick soon too? We can't share the toilet. I will be here all day. You should go to her place before it's too late, please. Eventually she left, pissed at me. It turned out I had a severe case of food poisoning and I was well again after 2 days. But my god, the fact that she refused to leave is something I felt I had to add to the story because it made me so frustrated. I also went through our conversations and saw me asking her how long the door had been closed. That reminded me that she used to shut my cats inside my bedroom while I was away at work or wherever, so they couldn't eat, drink, or use the litter boxes. She claimed she just recently closed it because she was trying to sleep, but I remember she did it in the middle of the day one time the last few days too. Okay, that one is really, really creepy. Like, you know, the unhinged behavior and stuff like that. I mean, standing over her pretty much with a knife is terrifying. It's, you know, it's a shame that M is going through such a, you know, bad time with her mental health and with her diagnosis, caused by her not taking her medication. So I do hope that she was put back on it and that she has improved since then. I totally understand though the OP saying she feels like all of her friends were kind of downplaying it. That must have really sucked because it is a really scary and uncomfortable situation, and like at most just super frustrating because she was doing a very nice thing letting M stay there, especially when she wasn't exactly being a good guest. You know, she wasn't doing any of the basic things that were asked, like don't wake me up, don't shut my cats in, you know, don't hog the bathroom when you know I need to leave for work. Like, I think these are basic things that you should consider when living with other people, especially if they are being nice enough to house you basically for free. So that one is just a really bad situation. I'm glad that ran off instead of getting violent when she was caught by OP and her boyfriend, because that could have went down a completely different way and that would have been absolutely awful for everybody involved. So I'm just glad that they are all safe. I don't know if you've noticed, I don't know if you have your eyes closed or not, but the setup is slightly different because I was editing this video to post last night, and around about 40 minutes of the footage had no audio, so the audio had just cut out mid filming, but usually when it does that I can hear that it's cut out in my ears, but it just sounded normal, so I didn't realise. So now I am re-recording what was ruined today, this morning, and I will put it together as quickly as I can and have it posted sometime today. I also have these new nails on. These two here are one size too big. I wanted to put this size 5s on, but there was only one size 5 in the bag because it was just a bag I bought off Amazon, so it was obviously just a little mistake, and there was one size 5 and obviously 3 size something else's, so I put the size 4s on instead. Let's read this one. The other one that I read, I think it was one other one, it wasn't that great to be honest, so I'm gonna choose a different one to read now. And also the part after this in the video was filmed yesterday afternoon. It's much darker and stuff like that because I forgot to turn this big light on here, but I basically just wanted to add more to the video to make it longer, so I recorded them yesterday before I found out that the audio was corrupted on the first set of stories I recorded. So there's gonna be a change again in a little bit. It's just shadiest part of Los Angeles. Last year I started law school in Los Angeles. I have never lived in a big city before, and I was really excited to be in a massive city with over 4 million people. Ever since I was little, I always knew I had a half sister in LA, but my parents had this weird anger towards it that always made it feel like a taboo topic. Of course, I had looked her up on social media. I knew what she looked like, but that was about all. We had never actually met. Sorry, my stomach. We had never actually met. She was never that active on social media, so there wasn't a lot that I could see. Out of nowhere, one day in my first year of law school, I got a friend request on Facebook from my sister. Her profile seemed legitimate. She had Facebook friends and her profile picture looked like her. She sent me a message inviting me to a little dinner party at the park with her friends. We could finally meet each other for the first time. I was new to LA, still am, and I had no idea which parts of the city to avoid at night. I was so excited about that idea, but I had a lot of anxiety about it too. It would be nice if we met, totally clicked, and became besties for life. But what if we ended up sobbing like we were in some dramatic movie scene? What if I tried to talk with her and she just didn't click with me, and she started showing me an attitude, or worse? What if it's all going well until we have some kind of disagreement? Someone said something hurtful, and then we were both crying in front of everyone. Honestly, if she had suggested a cozy little bakery for desserts instead, I would have gone. But going to a park with other people didn't feel right. It was like such a precious moment that I didn't want to have in front of all these other people. That is completely fair. I couldn't bring myself to go. I didn't want to risk having a meltdown in front of other people. I was worried about how messy it could get. A few weeks later, I googled that park just to see what it was like. Maybe we could meet up there together, just one-on-one. That's when I learned something was wrong. I won't say the name of the park, but anyone who has lived in LA for long will tell you that it's not a safe place for girls to be having a dinner party at night. The area surrounding that park has very high violent crime rates. It's controlled by gangs. Even people who do illegal business in that park are forced to pay a tax to the gang in exchange for being left alone. So now I was really concerned and curious. I actually tried to get a hold of my sister myself. She was an undergrad at the time at a local college. I had a friend who went to her school. I asked my friend to reach out to her on campus and ask her if she'd be okay with meeting us. They connected and the three of us met at my friend's house. It was great. We got along so well. My friend was also very happy to do that for us. The three of us had so much fun. We weren't bursting in tears, but we let out a few. We had dinner, we watched a movie, and we spent the night at my friend's house. When I told my sister about the whole thing, she said she hadn't used Facebook since high school, so clearly someone was impersonating her. I would have told her to report the fake account, but it had already been deleted. She knew she had been impersonated on social media though. Another one of her friends had been scammed by someone pretending to be her. It was some scheme involving a fake concert tickets or something like that. Someone had been impersonating my sister. They knew I was in town and they literally tried to lure me into one of the most dangerous parts of LA at night, I have no idea what their motives were. I don't even know if I want to find out. Meeting my sister after all these years was a beautiful thing, but the whole backdrop was terrifying. That is really, really creepy. The thought of what could have happened. I mean, we don't know the intentions of the impersonator. We just know that that park specifically is known for violent crimes. So if she had attended, there are so many possibilities of what could have happened to her, which is genuinely very, very scary. I'm so glad that the OP didn't go, and at least something good came out of this mess. You know, she had the courage to then get a hold of her sister, and they met up and they hit it off, which is very heartwarming. I hope they kept in contact. And also her friend is amazing for, you know, like kind of setting them up and getting involved and stuff like that. Like, that is so kind of her friend to do. So at least that one had a nice ending. Let's read one more. Let's find one more. Let's see. Not that one. That one's very, very short. Okay, let's click off that one. If I can click it. There we go. Let's read this one. This will be the last one for tonight, and it is by you slash... Oh, sorry, it won't be the last one. I have another video that will be added onto the end of this. So ignore me. This one is by you slash responsible underscore carpet 43. Again, just reminding you that all of these will be linked in the description if you want to check them out yourselves, and all credit goes to the original posters of these stories. The title is The Bad Feeling That Saved My Life. Hello, my name is Christoph, and I'm a high school student in my first year, so I'm 16 years old. This story took place during the second week of Easter vacation in 2023, when I was 15 years old, and I want to mention that it happened in my mother's house. At that time, my mother had decided to renovate the kitchen because it was really outdated. So there was this blonde guy with blue eyes who came to start the work, which involved putting up plastic sheets on the walls and a divider in my living room, which is next to the kitchen. At the end of the day, I had to go to the dentist to pick up a dental impression, and my mother had informed the worker that we would be back in 1 hour and 30 minutes. However, since the appointment was just to pick up an item, we returned after only 45 minutes. On the way back, my mother suggested getting kebabs and doing a good deed by dropping off the worker at the train station. When I returned to offer him a ride to the station, I noticed he was very uneasy with a nervous smile, as if to say everything was fine. I insisted that he come with us, and he agreed. Along the way, he explained that his name was Brian. I'm changing the name for anonymity. also mentioned he lived alone in Paris, but had 2 children living in his home country. We arrived at the station, dropped him off, grabbed our kebabs, and went home. After finishing eating, I decided to take a bath, as I love doing that all the time. However, this time, to my dismay, the water turned from hot to cold. So I spent 2 hours in lukewarm water, then got out and returned to my upstairs room. Immediately upon opening the door, I noticed that my PC was open and turned onto my lock screen wallpaper, even though I distinctly remember closing it before going downstairs for my bath. I asked my mother if she had been in my room or touched my PC. She said no, that she had stayed in her room watching the news. After a quick search of my room turned up nothing, I decided to finally go to sleep. At 5 a.m. I woke up sweating and shivering intensely, which had never happened to me before. I had a feeling of danger and that something or someone was nearby, so I grabbed a knife because, yes, it's a bit scary, but I have a passion for edged weapons, probably from manga, and I have a collection of knives, katanas, and shurikens on my bedroom wall. With the knife, I searched my room again, but found nothing. However, the feeling didn't go away, so I locked my door and messaged my mother to see if she was awake and had the same feeling, but she didn't respond. I waited for 3 hours until I heard her walking in her room. She came to see me and I explained what had happened that night. She told me I was probably just being paranoid and that everything was fine. She also warned me that Brian would arrive around 10 a.m. to continue the work, and that since she would be leaving for work, I would be alone with him. She assured me that I wouldn't need to go downstairs to let him in because she had told him she kept the keys in a woodshed next to the door. She then went to work, and I went back to sleep, locking my door. I woke up at 11:30 a.m, went downstairs to make food in the basement because the kitchen was under construction, and when I didn't find Brian there, I didn't think much of it. I went back upstairs, and I ran into him. As soon as I saw him, that bad feeling returned. But he started talking to me. I tried to end the conversation and quickly went back to my locked room. 10 minutes later, Brian knocked on my door asking for help carrying something. I didn't respond because I really didn't want to see him again, but he started trying to open the door and began kicking it hard. So my first instinct was to grab a knife, lock myself in the bathroom, which is in my room, and call the police. I explained in a panic what was happening, and while the woman on the line said she was sending 2 cars, which would arrive in 10 minutes. While waiting, Brian managed to enter my room and began breaking down the bathroom door. That's so scary. I told him I had called the police, that they would be arriving any minute, that I was armed with a knife and that I wouldn't hesitate to use it. Upon hearing this, he stopped banging on the door and left. The police arrived and caught Brian as he was trying to flee. My mother immediately came home, saw me and burst into tears, telling me she should have listened to me. A few days later, the police called to explain that Brian was wanted for kidnapping, identity theft, torture, and murder. I believe that bad feeling I had during the night was him returning and hiding outside my room in the house because he knew where the spare keys were hidden. But now he is in prison and I hope never to see him again. because previously I couldn't, as I didn't have a key. I also think my weird passion for knives because I don't know if Brian would have left if I hadn't mentioned it. And especially thanks to the police who arrived so quickly and caught him. That is so scary, oh my god. I would hate to have like a kind of home invasion situation happening. And I also fully agree with the OP, and I believe, there's my dog having a good scratch, and I fully believe that her bad feeling from the night before was that he had came back with, bad intentions and stuff, because the mother had already told him where the key was, and, he turned out to be a real creeper, real bad man. The fact that he was already wanted for kidnapping, torture, and murder is absolutely insane and terrifying. So the OB and their mom are so lucky to have gotten out of that situation unscathed, and I am so happy for them because he obviously had awful intentions. Yeah. Okay. I managed to find some time to add another couple of stories into this video. So let's just get straight into it, as it's getting dark, as you can see. There's not much light coming in from the window. Okay, so this one is by u/methoxy87, and it is titled Public Restroom Creeper. This happened some years ago during my sophomore year at the University of Michigan. It was during finals week and I was down on campus studying for the multiple exams I had that day. After studying in a local coffee shop, RIP Espresso Royale, I decided to hunker down. I decided to hunker down in one of the academic buildings, Mason Hall, to use the computer lab printers. First, however, I needed to make a detour to the bathroom. As finals had started and lectures had ended, the campus was in a liminal state. Everywhere was empty except the bustling main study areas. Thinking I could use this to my advantage, I took the elevator to the 4th floor, which was mostly classrooms, to use the restroom that I thought would be the quietest. Blasting music in my earbuds, I walk in and see that it appears empty and hop into a stall to do my business. Everything is going well as I scroll on my phone. At this point, having put my earbuds away, then I notice commotion 2 stalls to my right of the stall opening. Not odd, right? Just another student who had the same idea as me. in this U-shaped room, only to return after what sounded like getting a view of the sink side of this room. Finishing up in my stall, I then watched this man enter the stall diagonal to me, hold the door at a 45-degree angle open, and peer around at me. I tried to ignore him and just wait him out. He stayed staring. He then began shifting around as if he was trying to adjust his view. Annoyed, I ended up saying, "Is there something I can do for you?" hoping to get him to leave. No response. Just this glare. At this point he begins shifting around the stall area, entering other random stalls and roaming the area in between both sets of stalls, the whole time looking at me through the crack of the door. At this point my anger has turned into fear. Fear to open the stall and come face to face with whoever is brazen enough to do this. Something about his movements and unrelenting stare made me feel like I was some type of prey to him. Around this time, I began contemplating calling someone, or calling DPSS, which was like the security of the place. Thankfully though, someone then walks into the bathroom. The creep then immediately leaves the stall he's posted up in and leaves the room as I can hear him open and close the door. Hoping he's gone, I begin to put on my bag to then hear the door open, close, then open again, as if someone had just walked in, to only instantly leave. In the moment and looking back, I am pretty sure that this was the creep coming back, yet leaving when he saw the other student at the sink. As I hear the sink turn off, I recognize this as my best chance to get the hell out of there. Walking out with the student, I don't mention the experience and I am just focused on getting away from that restroom. My plan was to go down one floor to the third and call DPSS. I figured I had to report this guy in case he tried to pull this again, and assumed the police would want to meet me at the scene. Flustered, I head down. Thankfully, there was no sign of him. Coming out the doors of the north stairwell, I plop down on the bench, take a little breather, and begin dialing the number. Yet, before I could hit call, I see the creep walk through the same stairwell I came from. He's at a far calmer and casual walk down the hall past me. He's at a speed walking pace. Right as he sees me though, he stops outside the doorway. He then begins a far calmer and casual walk down the hall past me. As he does, he stares at me and peers into the empty classrooms. As he goes down the hall, I see him round the corner to the other hall. On this floor, the layout is a T-shape. Spooked, I spring up and begin jogging down the stairs. As I descend, I call the police. I explain the whole situation to the dispatcher as I move swiftly down the stairs, down the hall to the main lobby of the building. Being on this first floor makes me feel far better, as there is a decent crowd. I end up sitting below the staircase in the lobby, next to a vending machine area. I finish my call and I'm told to wait for an officer to arrive. I sit there relieved. Being around thoughts of the creep's intentions racing through my mind. But like clockwork, I see him again. I get a good view of him this time, as I am a bit gone. He had a beard and wore work boots, cargo shorts, a tucked-in t-shirt. Not a normal look for someone his age roaming a college campus. He didn't immediately spot me, thanks to the crowd, as he walks down the hall from the stairs I had just ran down. He stops at the vending machine area looking around. I bow my head and watch through my periphery in an attempt to blend in more. After about a minute of him scanning the room, he walks away. Shortly after, the cop arrived. He essentially tells me that there's no way he'll be able to find this guy, but he'll take a look around the bathroom anyway. Annoyed, I take his card and leave. I end up taking a convoluted route to the undergraduate library through the grad library, my hopes being to prevent the creep from seeing me in the open. As I get into the undergrad library lobby, I sit down staring at the door, fully expecting the creep to walk in again. Thankfully, he makes no appearance. I end up running into a roommate who jokes I almost got raped and then sat down for my remaining few hours to try and fail to focus on studying. To the random creep who stalked me throughout the entirety of Mason Hall, let's not meet again. That one is definitely super creepy. Like, being followed is so horrible, because at first, to try and settle your nerves a lot of the time, you kind of try and persuade yourself that it's a coincidence, but still, like, keep an eye out. But it becomes rather obvious with time that there is something more going on. I'm just glad that she managed to get into the public eye again and was able to stay there safely while waiting for an officer. Let's look for another one. Okay, this one is by u/visual_truth_772, and the title is "There was a man hiding in our house for a few weeks." Okay, I want to start by saying this actually happened. This isn't some creepy story or something I made up. I still have trouble sleeping alone because of it. Even now, years later, at 27, I check every closet and lock every door at least 3 times before bed. So yeah, here's why I don't stay home alone anymore. I was 16, almost 17, female, living with my mom and my little brother Ryan, who was like 7 at the time. My mum worked night shifts at a nursing home, so I was usually the one watching Ryan when she was gone. Since he was younger, he'd be asleep by 8 and I'd just do my thing, watch TV, scroll on my phone, eat junk food. You know, typical teenager stuff. We lived in this little one-story house on the edge of some woods. It wasn't totally isolated, but there weren't many neighbours nearby either. I used to love having the house to myself at night, until all of this happened. So for the first time I noticed something weird. It was small. I was in bed around 11 p.m, scrolling through my phone when I heard this shuffling sound, like someone dragging their feet on the carpet. I froze. Ryan was asleep. My mom wasn't home. I sat there, holding my breath, listening. It was quiet for a few seconds, and then I heard it again. A soft, scuffing noise. A soft, scuffing noise, like someone was moving real slowly through the living room. I grabbed my phone and crept out of my room, my heart pounding. I checked the front door, locked. The windows, locked. Nothing looked out of place. But then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The whole closet was open, just a crack. We never left that door open, ever. I stood there for a second, my whole body on edge. I wanted to just turn around and go back to my room, but my dumb ass decided to check. I pulled the door open fast. Nothing. Just coats and shoes. I remember laughing at myself. I was just being paranoid. Still, I locked the closet door before I went back to bed. A few nights later, I woke up out of nowhere. At first, I didn't know why. Then I realized I could hear breathing. I was laying there, completely still, my whole body locked up in fear. It wasn't coming from in the hallway. It wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside my bedroom. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking, and turned on the flashlight. I shined it around. Nothing. The room was empty. The closet was closed. I barely slept the rest of the night. After that, I started feeling weird all the time, like I was being watched. Like whenever I turned my back, someone was just out of sight, peeking around a corner. I told my mom, but she just brushed it off. Then, about a week later, she woke me up after coming home early from work. She looked off. She asked me why the back door was unlocked, and I assured her I'd locked it. And she told me it was unlocked and she just had to lock it. I knew, without a doubt, that I had locked it the night before, but I didn't argue. That night, I was on edge. I kept my bedroom door locked and my phone in my hand, just in case. I woke up to more breathing and just that, like a gut feeling that someone's watching you. My whole body went cold. I sat up, barely breathing, and listened. I noticed my closet door was open, which was also weird. I turned on my flashlight just in time to see it swing open another inch. That's when I saw him. I swear to you, there was a man crouched inside my closet, skin pale as hell, hair greasy and matted. He was too thin, like he hadn't eaten in weeks, and he was grinning at me. I don't even remember getting out of bed. 1 second I was staring at him, the next I was slamming my door shut and running to Ryan's room. Ryan woke up crying as I grabbed him and ran out the house, my phone already dialing 911. The cops got there fast. They found him still in my closet. Turns out he had been living in our crawl space for weeks. He had gotten in through a loose vent in the basement and had been sneaking into the house at night, watching us sleep, taking food when we weren't looking. But the worst part, when they pulled him out, they found something tucked behind my coats. A knife. The police said he was probably waiting for the right moment. I try not to think about what would have happened if I hadn't woken up that night. I swear this actually happened, and it fucks with me to this day. So, to the man in my closet, let's never, ever meet again. That one is so creepy. I genuinely have such a irrational fear of things like that, like somebody living in your house or creeping around your house without you realizing. Like, I've heard so many stories and seen like quite a few films and stuff where that's like the basis, and it's just such a creepy idea to me. Like, oh my god, it gives me the willies. I say it's irrational because it's not really feasible in the UK, because we don't really have basements or crawl spaces or like proper attics. We have like little lofts where you can't really, unless you get them renovated, you can't really like live up there. You've got to be careful because it's all just like insulation and like beams and stuff. Like, you've got to step on the beams. Let's do maybe one more. That's my dog. That's my dog. That's my dog. Okay, let's try this one. It is by u/magazine__cool. u/magazine_cool. And the title is I Didn't Sleep Airbnb because I thought I might get murdered. Typo in the headline, sorry. Don't take this too seriously. I'm sure there's a logical explanation for this, but I'm glad I didn't take the chance. Super creepy nonetheless. About 2 weeks ago, I booked an Airbnb in another country. I was going there for a concert. The room was cheap, so I knew I wasn't going to stay in a five-star. The room was cheap, so I knew I wasn't going to stay in a 5-star hotel. But it was only for one night, so I didn't mind as long as I had a bed. To start off, it already wasn't a great trip because my data roaming apparently didn't work in that country at all. I logged into a cafe Wi-Fi and planned my route in advance as best I could. Managed to be at the house in time, rang the only bell and waited. Nobody came out. A super dusty couch right in front of the door. Pieces of furniture covered in cloth. Very dirty and extremely old. I usually love old houses, but that just did not look like a house that was in use or prepared for guests at all. I wondered if I was at the wrong house and what to do now. As a super old, unwashed looking guy walked towards the door from the street, I asked him if he knew where the Airbnb was. He mumbled something which I interpreted as positive, so I asked him if he was Tim, my host. He said yes and opened the door for me. Well, I already described the entrance. The centerpiece was definitely the super old creaky staircase that led to the upper part of the house. I followed him upstairs. He was heaving and coughing and stinking of cigarettes, which wasn't exactly pleasant, but alright. The second floor was also abandoned looking, super dark, with cluttered furniture hung with a cloth and randomly thrown together, and a super creepy curtain that I couldn't catch a glimpse behind. Another stair up and we were in my hallway, which was honestly the worst one. Cracks in the walls, old rural paintings and crosses hung up next to them. It seriously looked like the set of a horror movie. I usually don't have a problem with decor like that. I'm a goth, so anything darkly inclined is my jam, but everything looks so badly taken care of, so I got major creepo vibes from this house. He showed me the bathroom, which had a huge hole missing in the bathtub. Tiling on the wall. Everything looked super dirty. He showed me to my bedroom, which was honestly okay. There were a lot of creepy dolls on the shelves that threw me off, but the bed seemed fine. I asked him if they had Wi-Fi and he said no, which sucked. I really hoped they would have, because that meant I would have no way to communicate in there. I also asked him when checkout was the next day. He said it doesn't matter. He then dragged himself up to the 4th story, which was in complete pitch black darkness. By the way, so that gave me very weird vibes. I definitely didn't want to get into the shower, so I just quickly changed and charged my phone. When I went to the bathroom, I realized that I didn't even notice the creepiest part. There were no locks at all. Not for the bathroom, not for the toilet, and not for my room, which freaked me out. I also noticed that there were so many half-used items that someone, looked like guests before me, had left there, like shower gels, toothbrushes, and toothpaste. A random lash curler just lay abandoned on the shelf. Not like a, here you go, for your use, in case you forgot yours way. But it just looked like someone left it and nobody bothered to clean it away. I already made up my mind that I would definitely not stay the night in this house. My mind was just spinning scenarios. What if all these products were left by the people before me? And why did nobody leave horrendous reviews? Because they got murdered, LMAO. I was super spooked. I seriously debated if I should take all my shit to the concert because it did not feel safe in the slightest. But my back was really hurting from my heavy backpack, so I just took my essentials and left the room as soon as I could. Not without sliding a folded paper under the door, so I'd see if someone tried to open it in my absence. middle-aged man enters and says, "Hey, I'm Tim." All I could think of then was, who the fuck is the other guy? I was shitting myself inside, but had a brief small talk with him and finally left the house. I was shook. Luckily, I made it in time to the venue and the concert was worth it. Afterwards, I was so tired that I knew I couldn't stay awake for the whole night, so I checked into a hostel. That was also not perfectly clean, but at least they had Wi-Fi, a proper shower, and a door that had a lock. The next day, I got thrown out at 10 a.m, so I made my way to get the rest of my stuff. I don't know why, but I checked the mail slot again and jumped back. The old guy was just snoring on the couch, directly in front of the entrance door. I tried my best not to wake him up and snuck into my room to get my shit. The door hadn't been opened, thank God, and I finally left this godforsaken place. I don't know if I overreacted, but honestly, from the 2 dims to the missing locks and a checkout that didn't matter, if I assumed the worst, this would have been the perfect setup to assault or murder someone. Best case scenario, nothing would have happened, but I probably would have had panic attacks all night. Usually I love solo traveling, but this was just too much. Yeah, the vibe there is so creepy, you know, the stuff that had been left, not cleaning the place and making sure it's ready for guests, 2 dims. The only thing I can think that would possibly be plausible is maybe the first dim is like his brother or like dad or something who's like not very mentally well and he's looking after him, because normal second dim seemed to speak properly with OP rather than, you know, just grunting and stuff like that. Or it could just be a total, like, they're both creeps, they're both like running this thing together. But either way, I think it's always better safe than sorry. Always put your safety first, so I am very glad that the OP decided to get out of there for the night, because I wouldn't trust it either. It's never worth risking your, you know, your well-being or your life, possibly. So yeah, they definitely made the best call. That is all I'm gonna do for today. I hope you guys like these stories. All the stories and the users will be linked in the description. As always,